Hi, I'm Ellen Scroggins, the adult programmer at the Faulkner County Library, and I'm coming to you with my September book nook. My recommendation this month is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. So have you ever been sitting there thinking to yourself about the complexities between the Napoleonic Wars between Britain and France and thought to yourself, this could really use more dragons? Well, even if you haven't, this book will answer that question for you anyway. It follows Captain William Lawrence, an officer in the British Navy, and his ship, the Reliant. When the book opens, he has just captured a French ship on which he has discovered a dragon egg. He and his crew know they must get this very valuable treasure back to shore as soon as possible before it hatches, because a dragon must imprint on a human when it is first born, and that person will be automatically conscripted into the aerial corps. Naturally, the egg starts hatching long before they reach shore. They try their best to send some of the less important crew members forward first, but the newly born dragon refuses to settle for anyone less than the captain of the ship. Knowing his fate has essentially been sealed at this point, they continued their way back to land, as he has resigned himself to joining the aerial corps. He's very surprised, therefore, to find that when they finally get back, those very people are determined to take his new dragon, who he has named Temeraire, away from him. When he's surprised by the cruelty of their methods and the new bond he's already formed with his dragon, he decides to join the aerial corps of his own volition and make the shift over himself. Once they get to their new base, in the book called A Covert, he is very surprised by the wildly different culture among the aerial officers, a much more chaotic and informal atmosphere than he is used to in the uptight and very rule-centered Navy. Fortunately, he's not alone, as Temeraire, though being newly born and very fresh into the world, proves to be highly intelligent and a wonderful conversation partner, voracious to learn anything he can. As they begin their training, they start realizing how important dragons really are in the war against Napoleon, previously thought to be more of a necessity to combat the dragons from the other sides. They commit themselves to their training, learning all about the different breeds of dragons with their different abilities, and wondering and trying to figure out what breed Temeraire must be, as he does not seem to resemble any of the dragons already in service in the aerial corps. Lawrence is learning all the new nuances and etiquette of his new branch of military and struggling with some of the changes, such as women officers. Through all this, they're getting updates from France on how the war is going. And just as they're starting to settle in and feel as though they are beginning to make real progress, a devastating turn in the war leads to them being sent out much earlier than planned and putting everything they've learned to the test. Now, when I first picked up this book, it was really on a whim. I'm always up for a book about dragons, and so even though I hadn't heard of it before, I thought I would give it a chance. I was definitely not expecting what was essentially a historical fiction novel, but with dragons. That said, Novik's ability to spin truly real-to-life characters with deep emotional bonds to each other was more than enough to pull me in, let alone her very evocative descriptions of life in the sea, sky, and land. It has lots of my favorite dragon tropes, like the bond between a dragon and its rider, very unique dragon breeds with all sorts of abilities, and dragons basically just being giant magpies who are obsessed with shiny things. And watching Temeraire learn about the world around him, so new that everything is a completely fresh concept, but already being smart enough to be able to challenge Lawrence whenever he says things work, because that's the way they've always been, is a very fun dynamic to really dive into. It's a perfect book if you like historical, thorough stories about warfare, fun, fantastical, rip-roaring adventures with dragons, or just reading a touching story about found family and bonding through the difficulty of being fish out of water. Either way, I would definitely recommend you pick this book up and give it a read this September.